Well, welcome to my new video, and yes, finally here in the UK and PAL zones, we finally get access to one of the greatest role-playing game series of all time, which was a cultural phenomenon in Japan, which is the Dragon Quest series. Now, we just recently got the first 3 of the original titles released on the Nintendo Switch store. Now, this is pretty big for us in the UK and PAL zones, as in 2006 we had our PlayStation 2 release of Dragon Quest. It was just titled The Journey of the Cursed King, so there was no number or anything like that included on it. So that was our first introduction to a home console. And then most recently we had Dragon Quest 11. So there was a big jump and a bit of a confusion with us, and I know there's been a lot of portable gaming ports for the Nintendo DS, but for me, I'm more of a home console player and like to play on the big screen, and I know a lot of you guys do out there. So it was a bit confusing first. Now when I say home console, it is being ported to the Switch and it is only download, but it does finally give us a chance to play the very first 3 in the series to play on our big screens. Now, to explain why this is pretty big here in the UK and the rest of the PAL zones, I'll quickly cover what happened to the original releases throughout the rest of the world. So over in Japan, the first entry was released in 1986 for the NES, created by Yuji Horii. And to make the game appeal to a larger audience, a manga artist and creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, was hired to produce the artwork. The majority of the Dragon Quest soundtrack are written and orchestrated by Kuriju Sugiyama, and was already a well-known television and anime composer at the time, and putting all these together did really make a good recipe for a great video game. The game was heavily inspired by games like Wizardry and Ultima that were the first in that style of genre, released back in the late 70s and early 80s. In 1990, by the time Japan got their 3rd in the series, the US finally got the 1st in the series, and the title was changed to Dragon Warrior, perhaps due to some copyright laws. But due to poor sales in the Far West, the series stopped after the 4th release on the NES. And whilst in Japan it carried on, and the 5th and the 6th was moved over to the Super Nintendo. In 2001, shortly after the first release of the 7th one in the series, the USA got their version as well. The 7th being the most biggest and ambitious title to the series. And here in the UK and all of Europe and the PAL zones, we didn't get any of those in the series. In 2006, 2 years after Japan, UK and PAL zone finally get their first entry to the series. We also managed to get the 9th. This was on the Nintendo DS, which I never got around to getting one, and with a big game like this I was personally hoping for a home console port. The 10th in the series was first released for the Nintendo Wii, and it was a Japanese exclusive. It was an MMORPG and was never localized here or even in America or Canada, and hopes for that ever coming is very thin. Just 2 years after our first entry, we got the 4th title in the main series, and it was released exclusively for the Nintendo DS, followed by the 5th, then the 6th. Then we had the 9th in the series on the DS in 2010, making it the first entry to carry the Roman numerals. Later for the 3DS we had the 7th and a re-release of Dragon Quest VIII. Most of these releases were designed and ported from the releases in Japan that they got for the PlayStation 2, adding additional extras or features. In 2014 to 2015, Android phones managed to get an enhanced port from the titles 1 to 6, missing the 7th and including the 8th. Not really sure why the 7th didn't make the cut. A lot of people weren't too much of a fan of these releases, as vertical screen was the only way to play, and for some reason the art does resemble the same that you get on Flash games. It does lose that 8 to 16-bit sprite based type of artwork, and the 8th was holding back on a few things, most noticeably the voice acting was completely removed to save space. Phew, well done if you managed to keep up with all that. I've got a bit of a migraine now, so let's take a couple of minutes. Now finally, in 2019, just shy of a week from uploading this video, we finally get our first 3 of the entry to the series for the Nintendo Switch. To me, they look very identical to the mobile phone ports that we got, that also got ported over with horizontal widescreen enhancements to the PlayStation 4 in Japan. Here are some comparison shots from the first release on the Android phone and on the Nintendo Switch. It didn't quite work on the mobile phones without a true controller, I found, but they feel right at home on the Nintendo Switch. It does go as a perfect complement to the modern Dragon Quest XI Exclusive Age Definition Edition. I went ahead with the third in the series, and the later the series it does seem they have slightly better graphics. This game was the first in the genre to allow customization to your party and even lets you pick a male or female. Fans of the original game and will play this in order would really get a good kick out of it. To put it simple, it's a clean, wholesome JRPG all around. Thanks for watching, guys. I do hope that you got a better understanding of the series. Let me know below if you managed to pick any of these titles up or got an introduction to the series for the first time. And tell me which ones would you like to see from the series to be brought to the home console market. If you like this video, hit that button. If you'd like to help this channel, hit subscribe, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.